I gotta say, thankfully 2024 was a much better year for movies than it was for video games. In a year that the presidential election took place and we were all divided amongst ourselves, through all that political chaos, there's always something that brings people together. And that, of course, is all the amazing, emotional, passionate, inner Hold up. Wait, what? Repeat that again? And that, of course, is all the emotional, passionate movies that made their way to the theaters. What else did you think I was gonna say? Come on now.
You don't want to know what I think.
In 2024 alone, we had the legendary Lion King franchise return to the big screen. We had a softcore sports porno take place in the spring. Talk about mixing together genres, and those tennis people were mixing a whole lot more than that, if you know what I'm saying. We were also gifted an amazing surprise watching a teddy bear come to life. No. Wait, how the hell did that one get in there? Scratch that one. I meant we had a pleasant surprise of a good movie involving apes living their life and messing stuff up violently. And now that leads us all here together for story time with me as I tell you my opinion on the top 10 movies of 2024. And as always on this channel, remember, opinions are like big butts. We all wish we had one.
Guys like big butts.
No, wait, again, that's not it. What the hell happened to this script today? Opinions are like feet. We all have them, but some of us out there might like yours more than the others.
That's disgusting.
Note to self, firing editor and script writer after this, aka me. Crap. Real talk though, thank you all for subscribing over the last 9 months. I still can't believe we've made it over the 1,000 goal mark that I put for the year. It's time to begin a new goal for 2025 of 5,000 subscribers. I believe we can do it, maybe over asking a little bit, but I believe we can push through it. I have faith in all of you. To help make that goal become reality, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you aren't subbed already, and come join us as we grow on this channel together next year. Anyways though, let's get back to the top 10 movies of this past year. Number 10. Real quick though, before we start, warning, there might be spoilers ahead. I do my best to avoid them, but no promises. I don't feel this way about most things, but I think I'm probably in the upper 1% of people that have seen the 1996 Twister. So going into Twisters, I was very, very excited to say the least, and I'm extremely happy to report this lands on the top 10 best movies list from the year. Nowadays, sadly, I've come to expect a reimagining of a classic to probably flop, but Twisters, fortunately, is anything but a flop. This time around, we follow storm chaser Kate, who you instantly get hooked to emotionally because of the shocking opening scene that I did not see coming. While watching this scene, I was somewhat expecting one of her friends to get killed by the tornado, but they crank it up to 10 here, killing all of her friends, including ripping her boyfriend right out of her own arms. Talk about investing you in the main character. After 5 years away, she's brought back into the tornado game by the other friend member that does survive. He only survives because he did not go into the storm. They really did a great job here of making you unsure who the good and bad people are throughout this entire movie. Kate ends up forming a love interest towards the leader of the other storm chasing group that you think is a bad guy for a while, but he ends up turning into a good guy. I thought the whole love angle felt very genuine, and you as the viewer also gravitate towards the other chasing group when you find out that Kate's one that she's involved with is anything but good. Between a decent bit of the characters, I would also say there's a decent bit of humor on occasion, and also these emotional scenes that also gravitate you towards this film in general. All this leads to a pretty solid story mixed in with a lot of tornado action, and the tornado action, of course, is what you're actually here for. And Twisters absolutely delivers all the windy entertainment you can handle. The storms look amazing, the sounds are so much better than the 1996 movie, and they do some unique things to involve the characters with the tornadoes themselves. Plenty of devastating scenes throughout showcase how scary and destructive these massive storms can truly be. Twisters was meant to be a 2024 summer blockbuster popcorn type of movie, and I think it rises above the mark of expectation that I had for it, and it's a near perfect storm experience. Number 9. Hey, maybe it's a movie nobody asked for, including me, but damn, I am sure happy it does exist. Critics and haters can bash on this movie all they want just because it's another Disney live-action film, but you're fooling yourself if you think this isn't a good movie. I'm not someone that's a big fan of prequels because the tension and the stakes are dialed way down since you know the result of the film, but I do think this does give a very well-told backstory for Mufasa. As legendary as Simba is from the original Lion King, I was always a little curious to know more about his father and his uncle Scar. Like I said, I wouldn't have directly asked for this, but I'd be lying if I said I haven't been a little curious about Mufasa and how he became king. This movie even gives you some cameo appearances from Simba himself in the beginning and the end, which was cool to see. Timon and Pumbaa are in charge of keeping an eye on Kiara. Remember her from that sequel that happened? Yuck. Rafiki then arrives and basically turns this into one giant story time type of story, and it's about her grandfather, obviously, that she never knew, Mufasa. I think my overall favorite thing about this movie was the fact that multiple main characters had a good character arc throughout. You get to see Mufasa go from an outcast nobody lion to the king that we all know and love today. You get to see Mufasa's brother, Taka, aka Scar, experience so many deep emotional roller coaster feelings throughout. It all leads to a well done bad guy turn, but then ends up being a internal conflict type of situation for Scar by the end of it. Even Kiara herself, while basically doing nothing on screen, ends up learning something from her Rafiki's story and her grandfather's story. She is able to overcome her fear of storms and learn how much it means to have a brother. Outside of the story, I thought the sounds were pretty on point. They even mixed in a little bit of the classic Lion King background music. With all that being said though, it's not super high on this list because the new songs are absolutely awful, especially Bye Bye. That song can pack its bags and go bye-bye out of my nightmares that it gave me for a week. My thing with the music here, as someone that adores music the way I do, I don't understand the new take on these musical bits in movies like this nowadays. They just start singing, but it always seems like they leave behind the instrumentals that are crucial for catchy songs in movies like this. But yeah, maybe Mufasa was a prequel that didn't need to happen, but in my opinion, do yourself a favor and ignore the uptight critics and lighten up a little bit and go watch this movie like I did, and I think you'll have a good time. Number 8. Here we are at number 8 with Speak No Evil, and not to be confused with this monstrosity, See No Evil. One of the bigger surprises of the year for me. Can you believe Blumhouse has actually made a great movie again? No, not you. To start with here for Speak No Evil, I have to give a massive amount of credit and respect to James McAvoy for almost single-handedly making this movie worth it for just his performance. The dude has amazing talent for playing these subtle, psycho characters, and it's no different this time around. Also, I will give credit where credit is due, and the rest of the cast here puts on a solid performance as well. See No Evil follows a family that meets James McAvoy's family while they are out of town. They become friends, and James McAvoy extends an invite to come and stay a weekend with them on their private land. This weekend turns into a very unusual situation as more and more time passes by. The tension is what carries this film. You know what it's going to be when you go in, but the way they build it up is very, very well done. You just see James McAvoy and his wife approach things in the most unusual ways, but then apologize for it as their split personalities kick in for a brief moment. With that being said, there's a couple moments in this film that the parents from the main family make some very questionable decisions that bring the movie down a tick for me. They just kind of act dumb. For just a general example, they put up with way too much weird shit before finally deciding enough is enough. And of course, that stupid stuffed animal they risk their lives for is a little bit ridiculous if you ask me. No, you don't even think about it. You stay over there in the corner, mister. Other than that, everything here is great, and Speak No Evil absolutely belongs on this list for 2024. Number 7. Here we go again. Another Alien film hit the theaters in 2024, and with all the potential of failing like some of the recent others, fortunately as a Xenomorph lover, I couldn't be happier to report they absolutely killed it with this entry. In Alien Romulus, you follow Rain, a space colonizer that's doing her best Rey impression from Star Wars, just look-wise, in my opinion. At the beginning stage of the film, Rain is informed that she is now being held on her not-so-good planet another 5+ years after believing she was going to be free. This causes some desperate emotions, and she ends up traveling to a dangerous space station, Romulus, to find a way to escape her colonist planet. A crew of her and some others and an android brother that she has come along for the journey, which of course leads to the discovery of the legendary Xenomorph. The first act is a tad slow for me, but it mainly just is there just to build tension, I would say. Once the second act hits though, this movie just tees off the rest of the way. You have everything you could ask for from an Alien movie. Face huggers are back to feeling threatening. They ground the Xenomorph action to keep it more tense and scary again. And heck, they even bring back Ash, the synth bad guy dude from the original Aliens. Everything in this movie just looks so accurate and stays true to the lore of these films, from the look of the station to the grossness of the alien violence. They even give you another chest bursting scene that will definitely make some audience members gag a little bit. The very end of the film is what keeps Alien Romulus from being a 10 out of 10 experience and moving higher up on the list. I thought the whole human xenomorph was a bit too much and over the top, and I would have rather seen those 10 minutes or so spent on a normal alien xenomorph kill. After seeing it a second time, it didn't bother me as much, and I will say I do respect them for attempting something creative. Besides the whole alien human thing and some of the characters making questionable decisions throughout, I still think Alien Romulus is a near perfect movie for its genre. Hard to believe Alien Romulus was originally supposed to skip the big screen and go right to streaming on Hulu. Luckily, instead of going directly to streaming, it hit the theater and lands on the best movies list, coming to you with this brilliant sci-fi horror thriller. Number 6. You'd think this would be another franchise that you're like, oh yay, another Transformers movie. What would we ever do without another one of those?
Are you being sarcastic?
Well, that sarcasm couldn't be any farther from the truth, because man, did we need this amazing Transformers movie to exist. This time around, we got an origin story for both Optimus Prime and Megatron simultaneously. Simply put, they couldn't have told this origin story much better if you do ask me. First off, it's amazing to see them completely ditch any human life and just let the Transformers be themselves and shine the brightest. There's no Mark Wahlberg, Shia LaBeouf, Megan Fox trying to steal the spotlight. It feels like they really wanted to pay homage to the old school cartoon animated Transformers from like the 80s, and doing this makes Transformers 1 feel very special in its own right. This time around, the story was very powerful and hit on all marks. Before becoming the major stars that they are today, Optimus Prime and Megatron, they are known as minor bots and go by D16 and Orion Pax. Orion wants to become more and show the current Prime of Lakin, I think that's how you say it, Sentinel Prime, that he can become more. Orion and D16 travel to the surface to find out a shocking truth that Sentinel Prime betrayed them and all the other primes in his past and ripped away all the miners' freedom by taking their cores out of them. During the rest of this film, you get to see D16 form into the legendary evil Megatron as he's blinded by rageful revenge. Eventually, they're able to recruit an army to go back to Lakin and fight against Sentinel Prime. There's way more action than I expected, plus I thought most of it was highly entertaining, and they even throw in some interesting CGI things mixed in, which is cool to see. And of course, to wrap it up at the end, they even give you a pretty great fight between Megatron and Optimus Prime as they both take their true forms at the end of the film. It's a shame this movie was a complete flop in the theaters. It ends up being one of the best films in 2024 that you need to watch since you probably haven't. Number 5. Wow, oh wow, Heretic was probably the #1 biggest unexpected hit film of the year for me. I literally only watched this because it was around Halloween season and I'm always extra in the mood to go to the movies and see a horror/mystery type of film. This one follows two girls that go house to house trying to convert people to their side of religion. The intrigue really begins when they meet this very welcoming guy who offers them shelter and interesting religious conversation during a storm. There were two things that massively stuck out to me during this movie. One is the 10 out of 10 masterful Academy nominee worthy performance from Hugh Grant. He 100% nails this character all the way through the film. He's that kind of psycho guy that you aren't sure if he's trustworthy or not. His character is so polite and genuinely just seems intrigued by what the girls have to say about this religious stuff. Plus, he does pull off a couple solid lies that almost make you question whether or not he is truly evil. So thanks to him being so believably creepy, that leads me to my second main thing, which was very well designed tension scenes, and they are on display a few times throughout here. There's one scene in particular that they came across a unknown figure in the darkness as they approach. I'm not going to completely spoil that one on purpose, but the way they shot it was just amazing. There's also a couple times here where the girls play a little puzzle game that he introduces to them. He makes the girls believe they have all the answers, but only for them to be fooled yet again around every turn. Overall, this is one of those films that you just know the premise of what's going on, but you don't actually know what's going on to the fullest. And for me, the incredibly well done writing really helps you stay interested whether you're familiar with the religious beliefs that they talk about or not. This really is one of those films that keeps you on the edge of your seat waiting for that next clever line from Hugh Grant or waiting for what horrific thing he will try to pull off next. Number 4. I gotta say, Disney Pixar knocked this sequel out of the park despite not having the best reputation for its sequels. Inside Out 2 begins with Riley entering the teenage phase of her life, so you already get some interest there. Instead of just having her few simple emotions from the first film, they introduce more complex ones here, like embarrassment, boredom, envy, and my new favorite, anxiety, because you know how life is once that good old anxiety gets introduced. And seriously, that's what I think I enjoy the most about Inside Out 2, just the realistic way they incorporate those very, very true, real feeling emotions that you end up dealing with in real life. Anxiety is the center of attention emotion in this film, and again, how realistic is that? Anxiety in most people always tries to take charge even though it shouldn't. And at the end of the day, I would say that's what this movie ends up being about. For most of it, anxiety gets rid of the original emotions and attempts to change Riley down to her core. You see Riley throughout the film choose to be around bitchy, popular kids, and as a result, she loses her longtime, loyal, friendly friends. Plus, you get to see Riley get all of her true emotions that she had her entire life get thrown away, and they try to scratch and claw their way back. And before we move on, I also have to shout out the quick appearance from the hilarious nostalgia emotion they sneak in here. The old granny lady, she will have you crack it up, and I'm just laughing thinking about it. It was just funny. I think that one hits me really good personally because that's the emotion I think I deal with these days the most. So those couple scenes just genuinely had me cracking up and maybe crying a little bit on the inside too.
Don't be a baby.
The other big thing that helps the film rise up near the top is its just deep overall message that they want you to take away from this film. In a powerfully emotional teenage journey, they show you that despite having anxiety and it trying to take charge, at the end of the day, you do not need anxiety. Instead, find your inner core emotions of true happiness and sadness. Feel those, be yourself, and people will love you for who you are is the message here. For me, I thought Inside Out 2 was an extremely entertaining film from top to bottom with a deep message. It has a great purpose to teach the younger generations to be yourself and love who you have. So yeah, have your kids or just even yourself go see this one. I think you'll enjoy. Number 3. This might be the only trilogy I know that's solid from top to bottom, and each movie is an improvement from the previous. Growing up, I played the heck out of so many Sonic titles, and through all of that, Shadow became my favorite character. So maybe I'm slightly driven towards Sonic 3 more than the others, but overall I think it seemed like a good film in general. There's just so much to love in this installment compared to the other two. It wastes very little time from the beginning getting to the action. The movie begins with the introduction of Shadow, and a very short time later you get Sonic, Knuckles, Tails all fighting Shadow already. I think Shadow has always been a favorite of mine because he has a very, very good backstory, and this film sticks to that and executes it pretty damn well. Although I will say there's a couple small negatives mixed in here. I thought they could have had a little bit more Shadow instead of going with yet another Eggman driven plot. I enjoyed the couple battles between Sonic and Shadow so much that I don't see any reason it would have killed them to include another one or two before Shadow switches over to the good side by the end. While we are talking characters though, I do want to give a big shout out to Knuckles being a perfect comedy relief from beginning to end. I loved every second of it. I know he was in the second movie as a villain, but something about his funny comments just hits different whenever he's just part of like Team Sonic. And while wishing for more Shadow and less Eggman as far as the plot goes, I must say the double performance from Jim Carrey was also perfect this time around. There were a couple times in the first two films I thought he went a bit far and it really drove me out of the movie from time to time, but this time I thought he was on point and he had me and the entire packed theater cracking up on more than one occasion, that's for sure. I'm glad I'm someone that waits till the end of December to make my yearly list for games and movies because Sonic 3 was once again an absolute hit for people of all ages. Number 2.
That does it! Oh! Oh! Oh!
Finally, I feel like we waited an eternity to finally get the trilogy complete for Deadpool. Here in Deadpool 3, Wade is basically completely giving up on the whole superhero thing, finding himself as a car salesman, and he looks miserable as hell throughout here at the beginning. Wade then finds himself in trouble with the TVA from the Loki show and other Marvel things. The TVA then threatens Deadpool's timeline after Logan, aka Wolverine, died on his timeline. Deadpool is then forced to seek out and find an outcast Wolverine from a different timeline to try and replace the dead Wolverine from his own to save his loved ones. This leads to one long, brutally violent and hilarious adventure with these two heroes together. Wolverine and Deadpool live up to the hype that you'd expect going into a mashup film like this. Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds both were put on this earth to play these characters, and once again they do an incredible job. All the usually hilarious humor is here and comes with Deadpool by nature, and I found them as funny as ever with literally no filter in this one. I think what makes it even extra funny and wild this time around is all the swearing and way too far sexual lines coming from a Disney film of all things. Plus the Disney / Fox fourth wall breaking humor mixed in here had me cracking up the whole way through, genuinely. Whether it was the Deadpool quick remarks related to Fox, the sign of the logo buried in the void, or them even tricking you with Chris Evans thinking he was going to be Captain America in the void, only to turn out to be the Human Torch instead. For me, I would say 90+% of the jokes landed and makes for an extremely entertaining Deadpool film as always. Along with that, yet another surprise with Disney was the gore and the filter-free violence that you also see. Right from the opening scene, Disney wastes no time in making sure that you understand that they are not going to be soft for Deadpool movies just because it's in the MCU now. I really don't know what more you can ask for a superhero movie. You might think this is pretty high up on the list, but I loved it. The chemistry between these two was absolutely incredible. You get two amazing fights between them as well. They tell a very compelling emotional story with Wolverine added in here. And also I think the villain was also pretty good as well. But yeah, Deadpool and Wolverine was a summer blockbuster that you do not want to miss. If you have not seen it yet, go check it out. Hold on, don't kill me. Let me explain really quick. This isn't even an actual honorable mention of mine. It's more of just mentioning it, period, so you don't wonder where it is. I personally hate the Doom movies. They simply just aren't my cup of tea. Trust me, I completely understand how this could maybe be on your top 3 or even your number 1 for the year. But for me, I can't fairly say that because I don't like the Dune universe at all. Like I said, it's just not my thing. Anyway, now on to the actual honorable mentions. Quiet Place Day 1 is a prequel that takes place 86 days before the event of Quiet Place 1. It follows the main character Sam, an extremely ill cancer patient played brilliantly by actress Lupita Nyong'o. Sorry if I butcher your name, don't kill me. Eventually, Sam meets with Eric, a law student played also brilliantly by Joseph Quinn, and together these two form a solid duo that takes you down an actually very emotional journey. The acting performances are the main strong point of this film. Lupita, especially as Sam, shows true terror or pain on her face throughout the entire film. Many memorable scenes along the way as well, including a great opening. The opening honestly is probably what holds the film back from moving up on the list, maybe making the list actually. Simply just from being too short. Going into a prequel, I wanted more of the invasion and the resistance from the military. Show the military stand up against these unknown creatures and show them fail and get overwhelmed. Also, I love animals, but the cat in the film is another small thing that really holds Quiet Place down to earth. It's just, it becomes way too over the top and unbelievable at a lot of points, and I didn't enjoy it. Overall, Quiet Place 2 was probably like an 8 out of 10 movie, maybe like 7.5 if I did like half points. Overall, I think you will get a tense, fun, and of course, very quiet, enjoyable, fun experience. So a bit of a disclosure for this entry on the list. I literally had to completely re-record my entire video to include this one after I watched it on Christmas Eve. I was recommended to watch it by a family member, and I just so happened to pick Christmas Eve to watch it, which is ironic because that's when the movie takes place. Trust me, if I would have realized that one of my favorite directors, Jaume Collet-Serra, who directed maybe my favorite shark movie ever, The Shallows, was in charge here, then I probably would have viewed this already. But since it was a Netflix exclusive, I tend to miss those from time to time. Seriously though, wow guys, this movie was tense, entertaining, and right up my alley. I never know what to really call this genre of movie outside of action action thriller. It's similar to a Die Hard 2 or Speed vibe. It feels very, very old school. You follow an airport security guy that wants more from his life as a cop. He gets put on screening duty at the LAX airport to try and earn a pay bump that he desperately seeks. Suddenly, he finds himself in a high-stakes situation when he receives an earpiece with a guy who basically is looking to cause a lot of death and chaos on a flight. I think for me, the high stakes are what shines brightest for this one. The killer, who's played wonderfully by Jason Bateman, wants to release an extremely nasty and deadly nerve toxin on that specific plane. This whole movie is one of those old school, how's the main protagonist gonna find a loophole in this plan to win at the end of the day? I think it did work extremely well that they didn't choose a hugely popular action star like the Vin Diesels or Jason Statham's of the world. It adds a lot to this everyday feeling kind of guy that's trying to just survive and prove he has what it takes. Rip on Netflix all you want because it's the popular thing to do, but if you go in with an open mind, I think you'll end up loving the crazy fun ride that Carry On takes you on. And no, I did not mean that to rhyme at all.
You sure about that?
I gotta admit, I wasn't overly fond of this movie. The first time I saw it in theaters, I went in expecting a very high action movie with some comedy thrown in, but rewatching it this time, I knew it was more of a rom-com than an action movie. This feels like a movie that is so much more enjoyable once you realize the tone and genre it does belong in. I super enjoyed the premise of this one with the idea of doing a stunt double with behind the scenes action kind of vibe. Then you mix in a murder mystery, which I'm personally always a stickler for, so that had me hooked. There's two things that hold it back from being on the top 10 movies of 2024. I think some of the more actiony scenes that are here were kind of hit and miss, and I think with confidence this movie overstays its welcome, probably being about 20 minutes too long. Minus those negatives, there are some positives also. It's a very well acted movie, which is probably an obvious thing to say with a star-studded cast consisting of Emily Blunt, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Ryan Gosling, and they even sprinkle in Jason Momoa towards the end. The chemistry between Blunt and Gosling was very believable and well written for the most part. They had more than a few Easter egg like lines in here from other movies, which I enjoyed very much. Fall Guy, despite not landing on the top 10 list, is still a respectable watch that I think you should check out whenever you have some free time coming up. But without further ado, let's get back to the top 10 list and let's actually get to my movie of the year in 2024. Number 1. We have finally arrived at last with the best movie of 2024, and I seriously cannot believe it, but I'm very confident crowning Wicked as the movie of the year. Maybe a little bit controversial, but I'm just being honest with the way I felt. Going into the film, I was worried to death because musicals aren't my type of thing in the slightest. Maybe I'm just scarred forever from Joker 2's catastrophe back in October. In Wicked, you follow the Wicked Witch of the West from childbirth all the way to her becoming the Wicked Witch by the end of the film. Let's get my only slight nitpick issue out of the way real quick, and then I could praise the heck out of this film. Look, I understand this entire thing is supposed to be a musical, so I'm more than forgiving for most of it. My only negative, there were a bit too many musical bits here. I think they could have canned a few of them. Some of them just felt rather pointless. At the same time though, the ones that did fit in and were necessary did really add a lot to the enjoyment and fun that this musical film needed. Also, I'm not shocked to say this at all, but Ariana Grande killed it. But my real surprise was Cynthia Erivo, who plays the witch, absolutely tore the house down with her beautiful voice and performance. All I'm saying is the woman can sing with the best of them, and hats off to her, or should I say witches hats off to her, I'm sorry. Moving on.
Okay, this isn't awkward at all.
Wicked comes at you with a powerful and emotional story throughout. You feel the witch's pain as she gets frowned upon just by being green. And then you get to feel the epicness of her powers, which are basically Wingardium Leviosa on steroids. So yeah, highly entertaining stuff. The friendship development throughout between Ariana Grande and the witch really was fantastically done. Once they become a duo, I think Ariana Grande's character was hilarious. I did not enjoy her too much before that, but I think she really grows on you by that point of the movie. She plays a character that's a stuck-up, all about herself kind of popular girly girl. She has so many little subtle about herself remarks that just had me cracking up on more than one occasion. This movie just truly has everything, guys. It's a movie that has a first act with the overdone, musical bits that I mentioned, but after that, the second and third act deliver very strongly with an amazing third act, especially that's more than a 10 out of 10 for me. I don't know, I just found myself really having a good time with a film that I did not expect to enjoy. But there you do have it though. Congratulations to Wicked for winning my movie of the year in 2024. I would give you a nice shiny trophy or something, but I'm just a small YouTuber at the moment, so there's only so much I could do. If you did enjoy my list or the video, please drop a like on it. I can't express enough how much it means to my channel and how much it helps it out. And speaking of the channel, if you want to stick around for future content, maybe consider subscribing as well and grow with us in 2025 and beyond. Overall though, I hope you have a great rest of your day. That's going to be it for me. See ya!